What is happening, everybody? I am the Anarchitect, and today I am diving back into the twisted world of Junji Ito, the father of horror manga. I recently got a hold of another one of his well-known works, and I will be talking about it in detail today. That's right, my friends, I am talking about Gyo. Now, ever since I read Uzumaki, I have just been fascinated with his style, with his storytelling. I'm a fan of all things horror, so Uzumaki was right up my alleyway, especially with how surreal it really was. So I was excited to finally get my hands on Gyo. I've heard pretty decent things about it ahead of time. And I read this all in one sitting. There's two volumes in one, and again in these really nice hardback editions. Oh my god. I mean, just look at the artwork on the side, man. They just give you nightmares. So today I will be giving you just my thoughts and feelings on this, a full-fledged review of Gyo. And there may be some spoilers along the way, so if you have not read this and don't want to be spoiled, I'll probably put some kind of timestamp in the video to skip to like a spoiler-free type of review for you guys. But without further ado, let's get into what this is about.
Our story begins with young couple Tadashi and Kaori enjoying a scuba diving trip in Okinawa. Aside from a brief domestic spout, everything seems calm and normal. That is until the couple makes a rather unusual discovery. A strange legged fish has made its way into their cottage. Kaori, with her overly sensitive nose, finds the stench utterly unbearable, prompting Tadashi to smash the sea creature with a rock and tie it up in a plastic bag. Still, at least to Kaori, the smell lingers, and it's obvious that something is very, very wrong. The couple's plans to return home are violently upended the next day when thousands of aquatic creatures descend upon the island, all of which having also grown legs. One of these creatures, a great white shark, nearly kills Tadashi, and the couple barely manages to escape with their lives. Tadashi and Kaori manage to return to Tokyo, but even being far removed from the situation in Okinawa, Kaori continues to smell the horrid, rotting stench of the walking fish. Her paranoia grows, her mental state declines, and she begins to close herself off from the outside world. It isn't until Tadashi meets with his eccentric scientist uncle that the truth behind the morbid mutations of the marine life starts to unravel, and by then, it might be too late.
So wasn't that just a comforting bedtime story? So what are my thoughts on Gyo? I really enjoyed this. In fact, I think I might have enjoyed it just a little bit more than Uzumaki. As much as I liked Uzumaki, one of my biggest criticisms of it was the fact that I thought the story was a little bit too disjointed and a little bit disconnected. Now, even though Uzumaki's story comes to a definitive end, there were times during the story where I felt that it was just a bunch of smaller stories thrown together, which is usually okay. But there were times, for example, the main character Kyrie would go through just a horrific, traumatic experience at the end of one chapter, and then the next chapter would start, and it would be like it never happened. She would just carry on as if it didn't happen until the next traumatic experience happened in the next chapter, and it just felt a little bit sluggish in terms of the pacing. I felt like the pacing in Gyo was a lot more steady. It was a breeze to read through. Everything sort of flowed. You kind of felt the hardships of the characters as things progressed, and you could feel it get more and more dreary, more and more hopeless toward the end until the ending, which, well, it's Junji Ito, so you can imagine how the ending goes in this. I just felt it was a much more cohesive story altogether. I really connected with the characters in a way that made you care what happened to them at every point in time. And I just think it was very well put together. Not that I hate Uzumaki, believe me, I loved Uzumaki. I just felt that this story flowed just a little bit better, in my opinion. Talking briefly about the artwork, Junji Ito's style is equal parts beautiful and horrifying. He definitely knows how to set the tone early on in his stories with entire pages of just sceneries, and you just start to feel the mood of how things are going to go just from his artwork alone. In terms of the horror elements, I noticed that there's very little actual gore. in Junji Ito's works, it seems, it's mostly body horror, which can almost be worse because it can just give you kind of the heebie-jeebies when you see some of the ways that he puts people in situations in these stories. There are things I probably can't even show from this, because God, man, it's a what the kind of moment in a lot of these stories. So, but it's very very effective. So if you kind of like that kind of style of horror, then this is definitely for you. It's very very creepy and off-putting, but I like that kind of stuff. And Junji Ito is also a master of utilizing page turns. I before I started reading manga, I didn't think it was possible to get jump scared in a manga or a story like this. But he has a way of building a tension. He'll build tension for 2-3 pages, and then the last panel, you just know something's gonna happen the next page turn, and it is very very effective. I'll probably show an example on screen right now of just the way he utilizes that. It's very, very well done. And if you read this for a while, you get kind of conditioned to be afraid to turn a page because you know you're going to see something f***ed up on the next page. So overall, I can definitely recommend Gyo if you are a fan of horror, particularly body horror or just off-putting, creepy situations. Junji Ito is right up your alleyway. Is it better than Uzumaki? I think I personally enjoyed this story more than Uzumaki, but that's not to say that Uzumaki isn't also great. I would definitely recommend both of those if you want to get into horror manga. Uzumaki is definitely a good place to start, and Gyo is a good follow-up. That's the way I did it, and yeah, it's very, very effective. I'm going to be collecting more Junji Ito. I know he's got Tomie, which is another one of his. I think that was like his first major work that he did back in the late 80s. He's got a bunch of different collections of short stories and other things. There's an Uzumaki anime coming out next year. Gyo actually had an anime adaptation, I believe, in 2012, but I don't think it was very good from the sound of it, which is surprising because UFO Table did it. You know, the people who made Demon Slayer, or in terms of the animation. But definitely, the manga is the way to go when it comes to this story in particular. And yeah, definite recommendation. Probably an 8.5 out of 10 from me. If you're a fan of horror and you're a fan of manga, you gotta get into Junji Ito. That is a definite. And that'll be it for my review of Gyo. Let me know in the comments section, did you like this, not like it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on Gyo on Junji Ito down in the comment section. Also, if you guys have any recommendations for other series you want me to cover in the future, let me know in the comments as well. I'm always open to new manga, new series, and I love to see what you guys are reading and what you're coming up with. So go ahead and do that. Hit that like button if you liked it. If you didn't, dislike, whatever. And hit the subscribe button for more videos just like this one. But until next time, I am the Anarchitect, and I'll see you in the next video.
Perfect.